Couple of Alpies. Two for the soul, boys. Two for the soul. And a shot of water to get it rolling. Swish it around a little bit. Soften them up. Get them going. Fine Wednesday. A fine Wednesday. I want to showcase my Super Bowl football right there in the middle of the screen.
I was focused on, baby, ain't call y'all. But now I'm back at all my bitches in my call log. 36 lubricated condoms, no raw dog. I'm a drink of orange juice, then I'm a run through.
I like how he says orange juice. Said orange juice. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let's take a deep breath. I know we got some shite going on out in the world right now. I'm a little jarred up myself. But listen, man. We can't control it. We can't control what's going on out there. And that's really all I'm going to say about it. The internet is very powerful. The internet's very powerful. And anything that's powerful can be used for good. Like I hope we use this show. And it can also be used for evil. Anything that has the power to create such positive change also has the power to do just as much negative on the other side. It's why if you believe in Christianity, the devil came from heaven. The devil was touched with a little bit of that, a little bit of God's sauce. You know what I mean? If he wouldn't have the power to be the devil. You know? So, again, man, excuse me if I go off on a tangent or two. I'm just a little jarred up. And I had to lock myself out of Twitter, man. I came to a moment today where I was finally like, yeah, this is the most loving thing for me to do for myself, is to go ahead and just lock myself out of social media. And we've got this tendency, man, as humans, we've got this tendency to want to take a look at stuff. We have this primal tendency to want to take a look at other people in danger. We have this tendency to want to watch fight videos out in the street. We have a tendency to want to watch, cop altercations, violence. And it's a primal urge to do so because our brains haven't progressed. I promise I'm going to talk about Bengals Jaguars later on. By the way, our brains haven't progressed up to speed with the society we live in. Our brains are still at a place where we're hunter-gatherers living in small communities. And when you think about how different the modern world is, like on some of these podcasts, I'm talking to 1,000 people, 1,500 people, 1,700 people. Back when we were cavemen, back when we were living in hunter-gatherer times, I'm talking about before Jeebus Christ, the max amount of folks living in a community with us that we cared about what they thought. There was a hierarchy in the food chain. The max amount of people that we were around was about 150 people. And so if there was some kind of dispute in our tribe, there was some kind of altercation, somebody got bit by a venomous snake, somebody got mauled by a bear, it's in our primal best interest to survive and procreate if we pay attention, because then it might help our survival and our chance to procreate. If I watch Jason get bit by a venomous snake and I'm like, okay, shit. All right, now I know to pick my feet up a little higher when I'm walking through the watering hole. Or, Benjamin, he's got this nasty left hook. I don't want to fuck with Benjamin. He might throw that left hook at me. Or if I need to fuck with Benjamin, maybe I dip under and hit him with uppercut. So our brains haven't caught up to the times that we live in. And so even though nowadays it might not benefit for us to see a video of somebody getting shot on social media, it might be mentally taxing, it might be spiritually, emotionally taxing on us to see that video, but we, for some reason, still have the urge to watch due to that primal caveman brain that hasn't really caught up with modern times yet. So I try to just get ahead of that. Day like today, I'm just locking myself out of social media. And I did it far too late, by the way. Some of the shit I saw today will be in my crawl for a long time. And we got about 11 people in here right now, and I'm sure some of them feel the same. So that's just kind of heavy on my mind, heavy on my heart. Trying to make sense of it, if you will. I thought about not fucking doing a show today, and obviously I was like, yeah, no, fuck that. That's pretty weak. Like, even though we've probably all seen some messed up shit today, that'd be pretty weak of me to just say, oh, I'm not doing the show. So we're here. We watched our film. Okay, we watched our film on this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. And I don't know if I have much to say. This Jaguars team, they thumped Carolina. They beat them pretty good. Okay? And I saw the score, and the film kind of told an interesting story. Okay, so the Jacksonville Jaguars offense is obviously led by Liam Cohen. I have a bit of head coach Liam Cohen. I've got a bit of familiarity with Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen. It's kind of a tongue twister name if you think about it. I got a bit of familiarity with him just because he coached my hometown, Kentucky Wildcats, for a while with Mark Stoops as their offensive coordinator. And Liam Cohen, might I add, has had a meteoric rise the last couple of years in coaching. He's become kind of a head coach, he's become kind of a darling in NFL circles over the last couple of years, especially with the job he did with Baker Mayfield in Tampa. And then he did have some pieces at Kentucky that were very helpful for him as well. Guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, who now plays receiver for the New York Giants. And you see a lot of that flavor in the Jacksonville Jags offensive playbook, at least for the first game that you saw out of Kentucky. And I didn't pay a ton of attention to Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season, just in the bigger games, obviously. But you see a lot of the same flavor. There's damn near motion on every play with this Jags offense, the way they were looking against Carolina. They do a lot of, and I don't know if there's a specific term for this kind of motion, but they'll have a guy set Like, let's say I have the back to my right here, right? Sometimes, a lot of times, what Jacksonville will do is they'll motion, let's say, ETN, like he'll go a couple of feet over there, and then he'll come right back to where he was. And they do this with Travis Hunter. They do this with the tight end, Strange. They've got a couple of tight ends that they use a lot. And watching the film in this game, I also got a very good understanding of why Jacksonville traded Tank Bigsby this week. They've got two other backs outside of ETN. So they had, in this game last week against Carolina, Jacksonville had 4 backs getting reps. 4. I didn't even, for some position groups, I don't even know if you have 4 on the 53-man roster. But they had 4 backs in rotation. They obviously had Travis Etienne. He's the starting guy. He's a bell cow, some would say. They've got a guy, number 33, Tutton, I think is his name, Tutten. Number 33, he was getting a lot of reps, a lot of touches. Okay, and then their last back, who I noticed on 4 to 6 reps over the course of the game, was number 36, and I didn't clock that cat's name. But he got a carry or two. So, and then obviously Tank Bigsby got some reps in the game last week, and he's now moved in, I would imagine, settled in Philadelphia. By the way, let me sidetrack and digress here for a minute. I remember hearing Christian McCaffrey tell a story on someone else's podcast a year or 2 years ago about what it's like being traded mid-season in the NFL. And I cannot imagine what kind of consciousness reality shift that might be like. You're practicing in, let's just take Christian McCaffrey, for example. You're living, you got your home, your family, your wife, your kids in Charlotte, North Carolina. You go to practice, and then before practice is even over, somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, you've been traded to San Francisco." Or wherever, right? For Tank Bigsby, it's, "Hey, you've been traded to Philadelphia." It's like, do you finish practice? Probably not. You know what I mean? I would say you would. If you found out as an NFL player, I'd have to ask one of my friends about that. If you're, I would imagine you just like leave the field, shower up, and get on the phone with your agent. And obviously, as an NFL player, you've got all these people that handle the move for you. They help find you a place to live. I'm sure it's not that bad, but just the whirlwind that comes with that. Could you imagine, by the way, having to handle that shit on your own in that time frame? Having to handle a move, having to handle getting your wife and your kids out of there, having to get home, all that crazy shit. But anyway, so Tank Bigsby gets traded, so the Bengals don't have to worry about him in the scouting report this week. But Jacksonville's got 3 other backs. And here's the thing. They try to get a lot of screens over to Travis Hunter. They really like to get the run game going early. They use their tight ends in blocking in the run game very heavily. A lot of times they'll line up with 2 tight ends on one side. Sometimes they'll take a tackle and put him over there. If they're really going big formation, I saw that a couple times. They'll put a tackle on a tight end spot on one side, and then they'll stack 2 actual tight ends on the other side and hand it off. Offensive line didn't look terrible. Nobody really blew me away when I was watching this film on the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what, man? Trevor Lawrence, big body, impressive specimen, good athlete. Just don't see it. Okay? I just don't see it. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because it was week 1. It's been, 6-7 months since these guys have gone in there in front of a crowd on a TV broadcast going full speed against another team. This cat, Trevor Lawrence, dude. What up, F Edits? This cat, Trevor Lawrence, in the second half, and this might, again, I play devil's advocate to preface what I'm about to say, because cats just might be getting tired out there. They might be, but Trevor Lawrence in the second half of this game, in a game where Jacksonville they thumped the Panthers, right? They beat the hell out of them. Trevor Lawrence missed 4 throws in the second half that were just absolutely disgusting. I'm talking Brian Thomas, not Brian Robinson, Brian Thomas, the LSU product, second-year guy, number 7 for Jacksonville, runs a beautiful smash route. He's wide open out in space. Trevor Lawrence just overthrows him, just misses him. And then there was a pick that Trevor Lawrence threw that was just disgusting. Granted, number 8 for Carolina made a beautiful play on the ball. He's falling back, cuffs it with one hand, pulls in the pick, gets up and runs it back a little bit. But I don't know if Trevor Lawrence was just tired in the second half because all of these bad throws came from him in the second half. 4 just disgusting throws from him. And I go back to a year ago where the Jacksonville Jags played the Buffalo Bills in Highmark Stadium up in Western New York on a Monday night. It was actually a doubleheader, and the other game was my Bengals versus the Washington Commanders. And the Jags got their ass beat so bad that I just watched the Bengals defense get shredded on my phone, sitting there in Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. I was there visiting my ex-girlfriend's family. So I don't know. Listen, I try to view this football shit as objectively as I can. I made a video and I put it on my Instagram last week watching the Bengals game, and you watch a video like this from me, and listen, I think I'm pretty good at being stoic, emotionally stable in a lot of different environments in life. Football is not one of them. So I try to look at these teams from an objective lens. You know, I'm sure at some point we'll be watching film on the Kansas City Chiefs at some point in the season. We'll probably be watching film on the Pittsburgh Steelers at some point in the season. It's really hard for me to set aside my biased child brain when I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers because of all the times they made me cry when I was a kid. You know, all the times that the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis, made me cry when I was a kid. You know, watching this Bengals organization, most of the years of my life, they've been the Bungles. And, you know, I'm scared to go to school Monday morning because I'm going to get teased by everybody that love to hate on the Bengals. You know, so we're working on it. We're working on looking at this film, looking at this all 22 film day in, day out with some objective stoicism. And the reason I say all that is it's really hard for me to take the Jacksonville Jaguars seriously. It's really hard. You got this owner that I'm pretty sure he didn't even know what football was until, 8 to 10 years ago. Got a bunch of money, said, "Oh, this looks cool." Sorry. I just, it's hard for me to take the Jags serious. So I tried to go into this film study this morning on the Jaguars with a clear mind And I think I did a good job of that, but the film just kind of reaffirmed any biases that I had about them. They're not a good football team, at least on offense. I haven't watched Jaguars defense, and I'm not sure if we will, because tomorrow I want to preview the Thursday night game, and I'm pretty sure that Thursday night game is Commanders-Packers, which is going to be a pretty badass game. I think the Washington Commanders are about 3.5-point underdogs to Green Bay. Green Bay looks scary up front, but the Commanders are good, man. They are good. So we'll probably watch some film. We'll probably isolate a group for that Commanders-Packers game. Maybe we'll watch Green Bay defense. That might be interesting to kind of see if they are up front what I think they are up front. I got a comment on one of my shorts from last week talking about Philadelphia's defensive front and how I thought they were the best in the game. And somebody commented, and they said, "Are you watching the same game that I am?" Basically implying that there's a better defensive front out there. And I commented back and I said, "Are you a Packers fan? Because you might have a case if you're a Packers fan." If they came back and said it's like the New York Giants, I'm like, I got some comments on TikTok before last week's game saying that the New York Giants were the best defensive front in football with Dexter Lawrence and Abdul Carter. And it's like, bro, they got their freaking ass kicked against Washington this week. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that. By the way, did you guys see those Scatabo highlights? You guys see this kid on back-to-back plays just accumulating CTE molecules in his upper hemisphere? You guys see this shit? I love it. Don't love it for him when he's 55, 60 years old, but I love it for him right now. Old Scatabo playing over here and used to play over here in Tempe, Arizona, about 30 minutes from where I sit. So anyway, let's get back to Jacksonville, Cincinnati. I imagine, so the two looks that I saw Carolina giving Jacksonville defensively were a four-man front with three backers, and then a nickel front not a nickel front, a nickel personnel group, four down linemen, two backers, five DBs. So I'd imagine Cincinnati is going to do the same thing. They're going to give them a 4-3 look. They're going to give them a nickel look. And I saw, listen, the Jags offense, they look decent in the first half. Like I said, second half, they started to fall asleep a little bit. It seemed like some of their play calls were getting tired. The Panthers kind of figured out Jacksonville's run game in the second half. And Trevor Lawrence was just missing throws, dude. He was just missing throws. And I'm so tempted to say, well, if Trevor Lawrence was in, X, Y, and Z organization that's perennially a bit more respected than Jacksonville, he would have made a better career for himself at this point. I really don't know if that's the case. I'm just not sold on this guy. Physique, A+. Athleticism, A-, but he just misses throws. And maybe he'll tighten that up later in the season. Again, like I said, this is week one. Guys get tired. Okay. But I saw a lot of zone coverage out of Carolina. A lot of zone coverage, and there were a lot of open seams to the boundary, down the seam, down the hash. So I'm really encouraged by the way Cincinnati's defense played in week one against Cleveland. I'm really encouraged. I was most worried about Cincinnati's DB room, okay? Especially the safeties, Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. And listen, man, these guys on Sunday stepped up and played. I think Jordan Battle had 12 tackles and a pick. And so I don't think I'll have time to lock in on that film from week one on Cincinnati's defense. But the stat sheet says that they played a pretty good game. And so, really, if you look at Cincinnati's defense, one guy stood out to me in a negative way, and that was Cam Taylor-Britt. A lot of Bengals fans on Twitter would agree with me there. Cam Taylor-Britt was a couple times just seemingly in la-la land. This guy I remember one play, it's particularly, I'm talking Cleveland, Cincinnati here in week 1 last Sunday. Cam Taylor's playing outside, Cam Taylor-Britt, CTB, right? He's playing outside leverage to the boundary, right, to the sideline. And one of Cleveland's receivers just runs a simple 10-yard out. And Cam Taylor-Britt's beat by the time this receiver, I can't remember who the receiver for Cleveland was, Cam Taylor-Britt's beat to the outside, to the boundary. When he's playing outside leverage, he's beat off of that first foot plant. He's beat off of that first cut. It wasn't even a contest. I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's the fact that Cam Taylor-Britt was appearing on iShow Speed's Cincinnati stream yesterday or the day before yesterday. Maybe he needs to lock in, focus. Maybe it's because he's hanging out with Jermaine Burton and Dijon Anthony, and Jordan Battle. I feel like all these guys kind of figure out each other's vibes and hang out with each other, if you know what I mean. I just don't, are these guys serious professionals? Guys like Jermaine Burton who got a little better press this offseason, but last season, they send him home. There's reports that he doesn't pay his rent. He gets evicted. They catch him at a casino wearing the sideline gear that he wore the night after the game, whatever game it was, had concluded. So, I don't know, man. I'm really worried about Cam Taylor-Britt. Lance Holmes back in the chat. You're not going to be successful in life if you don't play with the Steelers, my brother. Podcast ain't worth it unless you play with the Steelers. He wants me. This is one of my great listeners, Mr. Lance Holmes, wants me to betray my hometown squad and play on Madden as the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've never asked Lance. Lance, are you from Pittsburgh? Do you live in Pittsburgh? By the way, I really want to add a call-in feature, or not feature, I guess, component to this show. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Have guys like Lance call in and talk some AFC North ball. Just have a little talk. You know what I'm saying? A cordial, friendly little talk. Right? So I'm look, man. The spread for this Bengals-Jags game, the battle of the cats. Okay? Battle of the big cats. The spread's about 3.5 points, man. I'm really tempted to take this Bengals line. Because I just don't really see this Jacksonville offense being a threat. You got some great young receivers out there out in space, in Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. And a lot of times what Jacksonville will do is they will line Thomas up front and Hunter behind, or vice versa. In college, we used to call this a dice look. Okay, where you got two receivers lined up like this, dice, and maybe they interchange, whatever the case. But a lot of times, Brian Thomas for Jacksonville and Travis Hunter for Jacksonville, they'll line up in dice, and then Trevor Lawrence will motion one of the guys in. I really think, and again, this is the NFL, so any film we watch, any of the looks we see one week might have, I don't even want to say might, they'll definitely have some different variations come the next week and the week after that, 17-week season that we don't expect, that Cincinnati might not expect, and it's just a cat and mouse game in the NFL with play calling. But I would be shocked if at some point in the season I don't know if we'll get another chance to watch Jacksonville's offense. We're going to watch a lot of film, so we might. I don't know if we'll get if Jacksonville will maybe line up Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter in that dice look and actually snap the ball where they're both firing off and interchanging. Maybe this guy runs an out route or a smash, and this guy runs a dig or something like that. Or we could even go underneath and then, similar route concept, smash, whatever the case. I think that'd be really smart to kind of confuse DBs and stuff. But if I am Al Golden for Cincinnati, the defensive coordinator, if I'm Al Golden, I'm going to challenge Jacksonville's offense and play straight man coverage. I'm going to challenge Trevor Lawrence to make the throws. And I'm sure he's seeing the same thing on film with this Jacksonville offense from week 1 that I'm seeing, especially in the second half. Trevor Lawrence just missed some disgusting throws. I'm talking Brian Thomas 2 separate times. Brian Thomas, great receiver, was wide open out in space, ready to make a play. You think Joey B misses those throws? I don't think so. And my boy Naylor in the chat mentioned this too. Cincinnati had 7 yards of offense in the second half and won. I think it was a negative figure, Naylor. I don't even know if it was. I think it might have been lower than 7. Okay, but regardless, I've said this a couple times on the show this week. It is a really good sign to me when your team plays that dog shit and comes out with the dub. I think it's a really good sign. So, defensively for Cincinnati, I expect a lot of 4-3 to start the game. I expect us to get a lead. I expect this offense to start clicking. Definitely click better than they did week 1 against Cleveland in a division battle on the road. I expect Jacksonville to be playing from behind at some point, if not, ideally, the whole game. And in that context, they start to abandon the run game. They start to get a little desperation about them. And in that case, you're going to see a lot more nickel from Cincinnati. I'm talking, let's think, DJ Turner, Dax Hill, I think, is healthy, right? CTB, dude, I'm erring on the side that he's starting to be hot ass, okay? Geno Stone, Jordan Battle, there's your 5 DBs in that nickel look. I don't know if Dijon Anthony's healthy. Look, I don't know. Again, we go back to my child brain here, my emotional brain that kind of puts frames around things based on emotional memories. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to shake my first impression of Dijon Anthony, which was that PI call in the Chiefs game last year that we should have won. One of many games that Cincinnati should have won last year but didn't. But guess what, man? I think all that pain put the football gods on Cincinnati's side. And I think the Browns game is a good indicator of that. All right, so if I were Al Golden this week, I'm going 4-3 defense to start. Let's plug up Etienne. I'm not really sold on Travis Etienne either. Again, Travis Etienne might be a victim of circumstance. He might be a victim of the building he's in. I just don't think I'll ever be able to take that black and teal seriously. The last time I think any of us really took that black and teal in Jacksonville seriously was that 2016 season with Bobby Bortles at the helm. And they had the half and half helmets, the half gold, half black helmets, right? They go down to Pittsburgh in January and beat them. I think they had Jalen Ramsey on that team as well. I don't think I've taken the black and teal serious since then. And it might be a long time before any of us take them serious. Can y'all believe? I still can't believe to this day Blake Bortles got them that far. A couple of those years, man, like you look at Ryan Tannehill in Nashville and Mike Vrabel getting them to the AFC Championship. Those were the days where you could have I don't want to say shitty quarterback. It's pro football. But a less than elite quarterback that takes you the distance. I can't even remember who the head coach of that Jacksonville team was when they went to the AFC Championship and got beat by New England. I can't remember at the moment who their running back was. I have to do my research on that team, brush up on some football history, and then share it with a hot date. You show up to a first date and you go, let me give you a little historical digest on Al Davis and the Oakland Raiders. You ready for that? Okay, I told a girl a couple weeks ago, I said, she said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do for our date? And I said, I was really hoping that we could bust out the all-22 and break down some inside zone blocking schemes. She didn't even know what I was saying. So fire, bro. Oh, man. This date's not going to be fun. It's going to be educational. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm it's funny, man. I thought I was kind of running on fumes today. And then you turn the camera on and I don't know, it just kind of gives me a little bit of energy. A little bit of energy I didn't think I had. I love it, man. We got Bengals fan Naylor in the chat, and we got Steelers fan Lance in the chat going back and forth with it. I might cut you guys loose a little sooner than an hour because, like I said, man, I turned that Jaguars offense film on, and I tried to go into it without any preconceived notions. I tried to go into it without bias. But any preconceived notion, any preconceived notion I had about Jacksonville was confirmed in what I saw. Right. And what does that say about Carolina? Because Carolina got their ass kicked in that game. Jacksonville forced a turnover or something, a turnover or two. Yeah, I think Bryce Young threw a pick early. It was batted up. Jacksonville gets a pick. And then I think Bryce Young also fumbled. I think look, after that Dolphins game, week 1 against Indy, a lot of people owe Daniel Jones an apology, by the way, myself included. I apologize, Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes, sorry. A lot of people owe Danny Dimes an apology. Is Mike McDaniel, if we look at our head coach hot seat rankings right now, that might be a good little segment for us to throw in here as we progress throughout the season. Head coach hot seat power rankings. Okay, it's hard to not put Mike McDaniel up there at the top. And Mike McDaniel is a guy that I really have struggled to not put in high regard throughout the course of his time in Miami, no matter how disappointing a lot of these teams have been. It's really tough when you got a player like Tyreek Hill for the Miami Dolphins and your quarterback. I mean, God bless Tua, man. I think his noggin is probably pretty messed up at this point. I think after his 4th or 5th concussion, however many concussions it's been, it's probably time for Tua to hang it up. I don't think Tua will ever be the same player. Hope I'm wrong. I pray to God I'm wrong. I just don't think Tua will ever be the same player. He was terrible. And I didn't watch the film. This is completely me going off. I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the film. I just saw the score, some of the stats. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to not put Mike McDaniel at the number one in the head coach hot seat power rankings. You should trademark that motherfucking phrase there. But anyways, I think he said during the press, he was like, that was the most miserable thing I've ever been through. And then you're seeing a lot of podcasts, a lot of talking heads, a lot of media pundits talking about Carly Ursay-Gordon being down on the sideline with a headset, listening to the play calls. Listen, man, I spent a year with the Indianapolis Colts. I went to work in their facility every day. It was one of the cool. It was definitely top 5, top 3 coolest years of my life. You know, getting to work at that facility. Going into the break room, seeing Chris Ballard being talked about on SportsCenter on the TV above the coffee machine, and then standing next to Chris Ballard as we both made our coffee. Okay. But I saw, Jim Irsay's daughters all the time around the building. They were always nice. They always have been, even back when Jim Irsay was alive. His daughters have always been very, very involved day to day with the Colts organization. So the fact that she's now down on the sideline with a headset is not surprising to me. Their argument for it is if we're going to pay these GMs and these head coaches big money, we need to make sure that basically they're not full of BS. And they won Sunday, and they won resoundingly Sunday. So the media sentiment around this is generally pretty positive so far. If they keep winning, they might create a new precedent for owner involvement on the sideline, on the field, in the press box for NFL seasons to come. My only thing with it is, yes, I understand, as the daughter of Jim Irsay, you've been born and raised in this game. Okay? But as a lady, as a female, you obviously never get the opportunity to put the pads on and get in the trenches, get your hands on somebody, get your paws on somebody, and actually play the game. So even though Miss Ursay-Gordon's understanding of the game theoretically, in principle, might be as good as it can be, how practical, how much practical experience do we have playing the game? And if you don't have a dick, the answer is you don't have any experience playing the game, unless you're playing in these like lingerie leagues or there are some female football leagues. I mean, golly, some of these women I see clips on Twitter or Instagram of some of these female football leagues. I guess if you don't have a dick, there are some options to play football, but some of these women are just absolute units playing these female football leagues. And the thing about women too, playing sports, I saw this in women's soccer a lot. Especially in soccer. You think about soccer for a second. You think about men's soccer. You think about women's soccer. The women, when they're playing soccer, are nasty to each other. They're dirty as all hell. They'll yank on the hair. They'll shove. They'll trip. They're vicious. You know, it's almost the same kind of concept. It's like you smell a men's bathroom, you smell a women's bathroom. You think the men's bathroom stinks worse, but no. It's the ladies' room, dude. Behind closed doors, these ladies, they're vicious with it. You know what I'm saying? And on the soccer field in competition, they're vicious with it too. So these women playing football, they're pretty vicious. You know what I mean? But I digress, you know. I just don't think there's a place for femininity in football. You know, I've heard some other people in the space saying that, and I agree. You know, even like we were practicing, our Pop Warner kids were practicing last night. We practiced Tuesday, Thursday nights, and we break them for water, and a lot of these kids they don't sit with the team and have their water with the team, and us coaches they'll go sit with their mom. They'll go sit with mommy. You know, and me and one of the other coaches, we were talking about it last night. We're like, that's a problem. Okay, we got to set a precedent, and tell these ladies, look, and maybe not even tell them, like just tell the kids, look, you're not going to sit with mommy during a water break. Okay? Oh, honey, are you cooling off, honey? Do you need water? Do you need a snack, honey? Look, women are I love women so much, right? There's no place for them in that kind of setting. Because that kind of energy is just not, it's not conducive to the sport of football. It's not. Like, the thing I love about football is when you get out on that field, ain't nobody gonna save you, right? Ain't nobody gonna ask you, do you need a drink of water? Do you need a peanut butter and jelly? Mommy can go to the car and get you peanut butter and jelly. Again, that's a beautiful, the role of a mother, the role of a lady in someone's life, it's a beautiful thing, okay? And look, how many hours a week do people get with their kids? Countless, right? But we only have 2 hours every practice, 2 times a week for our Pop Warner kids to really work and get down in the trenches and say, look, motherfuckers, no crying, no feeling sorry for yourself. If you try and lay a hit on somebody and get your ass laid down, you got to pop up and go to the next play. Nothing about feelings, nothing about it's too hot, nothing about, hey, can we go get some water? None of that bullshit, dude. This is football. Okay? So, if the Colts keep winning, I'll shut up. And everybody else that's talking about it, I'm sure they'll shut up too. But there's just no room for any kind of feminine energy in on a football field, in a football locker room. There's none. You got to be able to cut up with the guys, say some crass shit. Got to let boys be boys. You can't be going off to hang out with mommy during the water break. It's going to undermine every single aspect of development that you're undertaking on the football field. That's my take about that. Okay. I think that's all we got. I gave my outlook for the Bengals Jaguars game on this episode. We took a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars offense and what I think the Cincinnati Bengals defense might do. If you're just popping into the show, go and watch the replay. Again, all the replays are local to YouTube here. You can find this show on Kick. You can find it on Twitch, but obviously YouTube's our main platform. And you can also find the audio episodes anywhere you get your audio podcasts. I try to do a good job of updating those daily. I do have to go in and update the audio aspect of our program here today. Upload like the last 2 or 3 episodes. So, yeah, if you want to hear my outlook about that game coming up this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Cincinnati, just go run the replay. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're in here, I imagine you probably love football. And if you love football, you're going to love this channel. And look, we're going to be one of the main channels in this space going forward for years to come. So you might as well jump on the bandwagon early. Might as well get in at the ground level. And there might be some rewards for some of our earliest fans as we proceed to head to the moon. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we'll end this episode here. We're at about 50 minutes. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to preview the Thursday night game between Green Bay and the Washington Commanders. I'm going to take a look between now and the next time we hop on here at the Green Bay Packers defense, really see if this defensive front looks on film like they looked to me during the TV broadcast on Sunday. It was an absolute ass kicking. Okay, so I think that'll be really interesting to take a look. I think we'll get a good idea of if Detroit is actually really on the ropes without Aaron Glenn, without Ben Johnson, or if the Packers defensive front was just that good. So subscribe to the channel if you want to hear all this stuff. Look, if I'm going to give you guys a practical use for how these programs can benefit you, number one, I want to bring good vibes, bring soulful vibes, and give people kind of like Pat McAfee says, give people an escape, for an hour or two. But practically, if I'm talking about practical use, this isn't a gambling show. I'm not talking directly about betting. We'll use betting lines to give context as to what the public sentiment is about where these teams are at as the season progresses. But we're not talking about gambling. But I really do think, based on the work that I put in watching this film, we can maybe impart some good insights for you guys to use. Maybe fatten your pockets a bit. Just take some objective insights for you to use however you see fit. Because everybody that's tuning into this is a football guy. I'm a football guy, and I want this is a football guy show. Okay? So anybody that's in here, if you're not subbed, you're probably going to see us again. I know you're going to see us again because we're going to the motherfucking moon, boy. But anyways, I'm going to spare the lip service. Double tap that screen for me. Helps us out a lot. And I think it's right there. Somewhere right there. See that? See that button right there? Go ahead and hit that for me. It doesn't cost anything. I'm not going to jump through the screen and bite you. You know what I mean? But we're live every weekday, Monday through Friday, around 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, I know the time's getting ready to change. So we're going to figure out once that happens, what time we want to go live, what's the best time to go live. But for now, it's 5 Eastern. Been a little late the last couple of days. So it is what it is. Just be on the lookout, boys, and subscribe to the channel. I'm sure you'll see when we go live here. But I love you guys. Anybody that's in here watching, even if you don't sub, I love you because I know one day you are going to sub. And we're trying to bring the best football insights to you. Not enough journalists out here, not enough media people out here actually watch the film. They're all stat merchants. We're not stat merchants. We watch the film because that's where the truth lies. If you're a football guy and you're like me, I know you're on a never-ending endeavor of pursuing the truth. And the eye in the sky doesn't lie. And that's why we watch film on this football show. So we'll see you on the next one. I'm going to jump on Madden right now in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you want to just hang around on the channel and wait for that little live red circle around my avatar to hop back into the Madden stream, I welcome you to do so. But if you can't tune into the Madden stream, we'll see you on tomorrow's show. If you can tune into the Madden stream, we'll see you here in a couple minutes. This has been today's show. Thank you for watching.
Bye.